What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of According to Blake. We are solo again because y'all have been telling me you want more solos. And so therefore, I'm going to keep giving you more solos. It's very According to Blake coded when I do it, then it's just me and you. Somebody said they described it as like, it sounds like we're on FaceTime. So let's get on FaceTime. So I hope that you guys had a wonderful Indigenous Peoples Day. This is actually being filmed the day before. So I had to, if I look a little different, guys, pardon me. It's because I went and got my filler and Botox touched up yesterday. The best time to do it is before the holiday. However, I also needed to film. So therefore, that's why the lips look a little full and little full, and the forehead is absolutely not going to move today. But that's okay. That's the point. So yeah, I'm going to do another episode though, where I for sure have on like a plastic surgeon, because I really want to talk about, everybody's been talking about like Christina Aguilera and Lindsay Lohan's new face and all of those things. So I would love to have a plastic surgeon on, not just to talk about fillers. That's all that I've done. All I've done is injectables. So fillers, and Botox, Juvederm and Botox particularly, sometimes some other neuromodulators. But I really want to have a robust conversation with a plastic surgeon, especially around like not doing too much. Like once this settles, y'all, it's cute. It's just a lot right now. Okay. So, recap from the last solo episode. So I like to revisit things if things have updated. I will not be giving Tyler any more energy, nor Ashley. He did a podcast. If you saw the podcast, wow. He is as terrible as we think he is. I will not speak about them again. Also, to clarify, I spoke about Marnie in the Chronically Online segment last solo episode, and somebody corrected me. So she is not actually Jim Jones' daughter. I guess that it was a joke and they ran with it, but he does have a daughter named Marnie. It's just not her. So that's been clarified. Okay, so let's get into pop culture. I want to talk first. Let's get the politics out the way, because we have to talk about it. It's very important, especially as we lead up to January. I'm going to be honest. I really had hoped that by now something would happen, like not like some magic would happen, just something we'd find out that like the election was rigged, which I still think it is. And that has not happened. And it looks like we are headed to hell in January, especially with these cabinet picks, which are absolutely outrageous. Like at this point, I should be on the cabinet. Like make me like, I don't know, the secretary of TikTok. Like what the hell is actually happening? Matt Gaetz was the biggest appointee that all of us freaked out about. He has since withdrew his name from consideration, but everybody else on the cabinet still sucks too. It does seem like Matt Gaetz, though, does potentially, though, want to run for the governor of Florida, which Florida, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm always like, there are a few, that there's like a trend where people say that you can search your birthday, like not just the month and the day, but like the month, date, and year in Florida, and something nuts will pop up. Something nuts happens in Florida every single day. It truly is its own place. Like it truly is its own place. Speaking of it being its own place, 2 Florida inmates conceived a daughter. A man and a woman conceived a daughter by passing semen through the air vents. They have never met in person. Both are awaiting trial. She is charged with 2nd-degree murder. I am so Florida. What is happening? Like, I just think the world, I joke all the time and my mom gets mad. It's not really a joke. The world is about to blip out, right? At this point, like, especially with the people we got coming in, like, environmental and like anything that, pertains to maintaining the world and, climate change, that's all going out the window with the administration that's coming in. I really think this shit's going to blip out, but Florida is going to blip out first. Kendrick dropped an album. It's called GNX. It is really great. And I have said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I am a Kendrick Lamar level hater. What do I mean by that? I mean that for me personally, it takes a whole lot to get me to hate you. But when I do, I'm going to hate you forever and ever and ever. And a lot of people are like, well, Blake isn't that heavy. Well, Blake isn't that heavy. No, it actually is not, because I will not think of you often. I will not consider you often, but when I do think of you, I will think of being on your ass like white on rice for the rest of your days and the rest of mine. And Kendrick is very much the same. In Whacked Out Murals, he said, what did he say? Like, rather go to hell before I take a truce or something like that. It was something of the same vein. And I was like, yeah, Kendrick. Yeah. Yes. Squabble Up is, the video came out. It is so Cali. I was talking to my best friend who's from the Bay. She loves it. Like, I think this entire situation has made me really like Kendrick a lot more. Just as like somebody who consumes a lot of pop culture. It's like a lot of times when I like an athlete, for example, this is a perfect example. A lot of times when people are like, do you like this athlete? I'm like, well, I like their wife. Like I tend to become a little bit more invested in like the personal of it. And so this just really made me like Kendrick a lot more. But speaking of why Kendrick is clearly not letting off the brakes. Also, I do agree with the discourse that this is not going to be Kendrick's, this is not Kendrick's album. This is a palate cleanser, as it was described as. I do believe that this is not the album. I do think that this is the palate cleanser, which means that we have an album coming. And now I'm even more excited because one thing I know, he's not going to let up then. He ain't let up yet. He's not going to let up then. But speaking of, Drake is suing UMG in not one but two filings. I'm pulling out my phone because since it's legal and clearly the man likes to sue, I am not trying to get on here and say anything that would implicate me as well. Okay, so his attorneys initiated legal action against UMG and Spotify and alleged that they conspired to artificially inflate the popularity of Not Like Us. To which UMG responded and said the suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. Drake said, oh, well, that's not enough. It's not enough. There was a second filing in which he accused UMG of defamation. And he said that the music group could have stopped the release of the song that, and I quote, falsely accused him of being a sex offender. Did you not say that man was beating on his wife and those children were not his? Like, it's been very interesting to kind of watch all this. Like, I'm not here to say that I am any aficionado of rap beef. Like, I want to be clear. I actually am not. But what I can say is that there are some things that you just know just don't make sense. And this just doesn't make sense. Like, as I was driving here today and I was thinking about it because Drake posted memes kind of joking and standing on the fact that there is a lawsuit. And I was just like, this can't be real. Like this, there is no way that this is real. Like, how did we get here to where rappers are suing each other over rap beef, where each of them were going back and forth and throwing bows? And the thing is, I think that we have seen over the years that the male ego is incredibly fragile. I did not think that it would be this fragile. Like, I'm going to be honest, even for, yes, we've seen rappers like DMX and Mos Def and a myriad of others say things about Drake. I did not think that it was going to come to this. What I thought was that he was going to tuck away and then come out with some fire music in a few years because, I don't know, that would have made sense. That is not the route that we are taking right now. And it's jarring. Like, it is very jarring to kind of watch this behavior. And we've been seeing, this is again, not male bashing, but we have been seeing a repeated pattern of men just crashing out everywhere. Like, not to give them any more energy, but there was a really disturbing situation that happened with a Black woman on the Fresh and Fit podcast this week. I'm not going to get into it. They don't deserve views. If you are going to try to see what it is, TikTok and X has clips. Do not go give them a watch. They don't deserve anything. But it is really scary. And I know for a fact that it is going to get worse, watching the fragility of the male ego and kind of how it materializes itself. And I am fearful. Like, I think too, like I said, with this, what is happening right now politically in this country is going to impact everything else. And I had seen I think it was a thread that kind of mentioned that podcasts and I say this as I'm on a podcast, but podcasts and public male behavior are going to have that same effect that our parents believe that video games were having on us. Like it is this behaviors like these mobilize men who already believe that they should have what they want, that everybody should do what they want. And it just furthers their, like, kind of, it just emboldens and empowers them. And I want to be clear, I am not somebody who's like never sued. There are some things, if you ask me my opinion, I'd be like, oh, sue. This is absolutely not one of those things. And it's interesting because this is also not customary and things that you see often in rap. So this is spooky times, but I will say this. If Kendrick has shown us nothing else, he's about to be on that man's head worse. Like truly, until his dying day, he is going to be on his head worse. And what he'll do is he'll just now do it in a way that he won't say his name. We are never going to hear the end of this. Every Kendrick album is going to have songs for that man. And rightfully so, because we've lost the plot. The plot is completely lost. Moving on to, I want to send prayers to Wendy Williams. If you guys did not see, her guardian is alleging that she is permanently incapacitated due to her dementia. If you watch the documentary, it was really sad. It was really heartbreaking, really gut-wrenching to see. And it is like, when you think about whether you were a fan of Wendy or not, we can all agree that she created a space and blazed trails for women who like to talk, women who like to be opinionated on camera, women like me. And so it really does make me sad because, like I said, I didn't agree with everything that Wendy said. But one thing that I will say is that she was witty. She was funny. She was willing to speak out about things that people are just now talking about. Wendy has been on the heads of some of these men who are just now going down for decades, warning us, telling us what they were going to do, what they were already doing. And so just sending prayers to her because I really do miss, I used to watch my midday Wendy. Y'all know, like, my work schedule has never been particularly like conventional. And so it was always Wendy during the day. And she's really missed. So I am really sending out my prayers. Okay, let's dive into Housewives. So there are quite a few, there are 3 franchises on right now. 4. There are actively 4 franchises on right now. Let's start with Potomac. Potomac at one point was one of my favorite franchises. And now I literally have to will myself through every single episode. Like, I feel like it's like chugga, 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 chugga. Like, it's so slow and I am trying to stay with it. I will say that when Karen first got her DUI, when we found out about the DUI, not on the show, off the show, I thought that it was going to be, I was like, oh, this is what they're going to make the storyline. Well, they can't because Karen can't talk about it on the show. So that's not the case. So now it seems that the storyline has shifted to what I said before on on a previous solo episode. The focus has shifted to Mia's life. And I think every single time that I watch an episode and the children are brought up and the dynamic between Ink and Gordon is brought up, it makes me sick to my stomach because here's the thing. We have seen it. Housewives doesn't have to be interesting, funny, none of those things. You don't have to bring kids into it for it to be interesting and funny. That's what I meant. Like, children have never been the focal point of storylines to this extent. And it is awful. I'm just like, these children will see it. And so I'm really underwhelmed with Potomac. I do still love Kern. Stacy's boyfriend, though, and the way he spoke to her at that table threw me for quite a loop. That was about the most interesting part of the episode. The last episode for me was, I was shocked and appalled. And that's so interesting because I had texted, me and my mom were texting as we were watching, and I was saying one of the biggest peeves that I have, and one of the things that is like a non-negotiable in a partner, you don't have to be the star of every room. You don't have to, float. That's my job. I'm the diva. But you do have to be able to coast and exist in the space without having to suffocate me the entire time. Because I'm so social. I'm talking to everybody. His reaction was scary. And also I'm like, not to be crass, daddy, cover your ears if you listen to this, but you can't talk to me like that, and you ain't breaking me off. So you just talking to me like that and we just hug at night? No, sir. You can't talk to me like that, period. But you especially can't talk to me like that and we not doing the do. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. New York City is also really a hard watch this season. Raquel is my favorite. I really do enjoy Raquel. I like her story. I think she's very cool. I'm obsessed with her wedding ring. I think it's so unique. It seems like it's so her. I really like the story of her and her fiance. We're kind of watching. It seems like we're going to see her reconcile, or at least try to reconcile with her mother this season, but everything else is so bad. I'm going to be honest. I kind of got excited when I did think. I got excited when I was like, ooh, Rebecca is going to be pregnant by this man's, and none of that was even true. So it's like, it is a really hard watch. It seems like, while Bryn has said some really interesting things, problematic things this season, it does seem like at this point, they're just like this leaky pigeon thing. It does seem like they are just trying to dig their heels into Bryn and make her the villain of the season, when really there's just like, I think she was going for it for a minute, and now there's not a storyline there to be a villain. So it's kind of strange. It's too soon to tell if Bev Hills is going to give this season. Bozoma St. John did join the cast. I think that it'll be interesting. I'd love to see kind of her and Garcelle's dynamic. We haven't seen too much Garcelle because they said at least episode 2 that she's been filming new films. So we haven't seen her a lot. But I'd love to see kind of how the two Black women kind of interact with each other, what their dynamic is like. It seems like Boz is building a relationship with Dorit, who, speaking of, Dorit is standing on business with Kyle, which I every single time, like, I keep thinking she's gonna I don't know, like mellow. No, Dorit is not playing with Kyle. I'm like very shocked. But speaking of standing on business, PK is standing on business with Dorit. If you watched, I believe it was the last scene of episode 2, it was really, I felt bad because you can visibly see that the wind was almost knocked out of Dorit by the things that PK was saying. And if you didn't see it, basically her soon-to-be ex-husband, I believe, was essentially letting her know that he doesn't want to get back together, like really kind of emphasizing that he likes being single. He does not think that they're going to he doesn't want to continue to talk to her frequently. It was just a lot. I felt that watching that was like, oh, like, it's not giving that PK wants his family back, but it is giving that Dorit really wants hers back. So I think it's going to be an interesting season to see how all of those dynamics play. As usual, Erica and Sutton do it for me every single time. They never, I love Sutton, y'all. I love Sutton. I love Kern. I feel like Sutton and Karen are like a similar font. Like they're written this, like same word, different font. They are so similar to me. I love both of them. They have like grand dame energy. And that is why I'm really into it now. So I saved the best for last because Salt Lake City is taking it. Bronwyn is taking it. Mary Crosby this season is showing up to work. There is whoever put together this ensemble, even with Brittany, I would like Brittany to stop talking, but even the sprinkles of Brittany are doing it for this season. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I don't miss an episode. I think one airs tonight. Will be tuned in. I love SLC right now. They have continued to be the supreme franchise for, at this point, maybe like the past 2. I won't give them the season before the last one, but last season with Monica, this season with Bronwyn, whose husband do not play. A friend of mine we were talking about it on Threads, and she said that she hopes that Bronwyn's husband allows her to continue on the show because that is how much she don't play. And so I do hope that she gets to stay on the show. She's a breath of fresh air. She's standing 10 toes for all of it. Of course, baby gorgeous Lisa Barlow has been entertaining this season. I'm really enjoying it. SLC. I love this group, and I think that they should keep this group. I also just love how rich they are. Like, here's the thing. And this is a conversation that me, Scott, and Gerardo have all the time about the Housewives. Like, and it's the critique that Potomac gets all the time. We want to see women who we don't have anything in common with be slightly unhinged, argue with each other. That is what Housewives is, right? And that's what Housewives really used to be. I'm watching old New York episodes, old New York. Shout out to Dorinda. I met her yesterday and she was a hoot and a holler. She is exactly how she was on Housewives. So enjoyed her in person. But the wonderful thing about why Atlanta was so great in the beginning, why all of these franchises were so great in the beginning, New York was so great in the beginning, all of them was these were affluent women who did not really care about the image, right? They weren't trying to be influencers. Social media wasn't as big. And so there was this constant awareness. There wasn't this constant awareness of how they were perceived. Sonia and Ramona acted nuts. Like nuts all the time. It is absolutely unhinged behavior. I was just watching season 7, which is the Turks and Caicos season. Like, bringing men into the house, letting them and not just bringing men into the house, like bringing men into the house, sneaking them up into people's bedroom. Like, there was a level of delusion, a level of chaos that existed before these housewives wanted to be celebrities and influencers and stars. And they still wanted to be stars. Like, you even look at Atlanta, but it's like, go watch season 1 of Atlanta and listen to the things that would come out of Sheree's mouth. Listen to the things that would come out of Kim's mouth. And we have lost that, especially in New York, because all of them you can tell are totally concerned about what the image is. And I want to be clear, y'all, I love Jenna Lyons, especially as a former editor girly. I adore her. I think she's fantastic. But the issue is that she and the rest of these women navigate these shows like they had this big rep to protect. The old housewives used to move like they don't have a rep to protect. Salt Lake City, those women it's not given OG housewives, but they are moving this season like they have a little bit less of a rep to protect. And this is not another big piece is that this is not their job. For most of them, for all of them, really, all of them, maybe not Brittany Shaw, but for all of them, if housewives went away tomorrow, they would still be rich. And so therefore they can get on camera and act crazy because they're not as concerned about the ramifications. They're not showing up like, oh, I have to act today because this is my bread and butter. This is how I'm making my money. This is how I'm making my livelihood. And Salt Lake City, that is the case. All of these women, they don't have to be there. They will still be good if they are not there. And so I think that's why they are more willing to be chaotic and be nuts. Salt Lake, you're absolutely taking it. Speaking of who's going to be taking it, I watched episode 1 of Married to Medicine, watched the season teaser, and it seems like this season is going to be unhinged. And finally, like, we are getting back to reality TV. Married to Medicine, I will say this, and this is another thing me, Scott, and Gerardo talk about all the time. Married to Medicine, in our opinion, has never had a bad season. Some seasons, more exciting than others. I think last season, Phaedra's first season was the first season that wasn't just like a huge to-do, but Married to Medicine is one of the most consistent shows in the Bravo sphere. I will die on that hill. And it seems like this season with Quad, Letitia, Dr. Contessa's back, it is seeming like we're on track for a really good season of Married to Medicine. So I'm like, you know what? If Potomac is going to be a snooze fest right before, at least I know that I have Married to Medicine to look forward to right after. So I'll be fine. I finally watched, which is why I hadn't spoken about it. I finally watched the Meg Thee Stallion documentary, and I just couldn't watch for a long time because I didn't want to watch anything that heavy. And in watching it, I was immediately reminded why I waited so long. As I go back to, we see these stories about the fragility of the male ego. And no, the shooting was only a part of the documentary, but I said this on Threads. If the worst that I do is drink a whole lot, if I am going through what she was going through, then I think that I'm managing okay. Because the way that I would not be able to function after all that she was enduring and at that time, and I didn't know the details around her mother's death, and it was heartbreaking. It was gut-wrenching, and it was so sad to see this woman have to deal with all this. But I am so happy that they showed the tweets of the naysayers. They showed the videos of the naysayers, many of which are public figures, men and women. I'm so happy they showed those clips because I think that it is important that that always lives on, because some of the people who they featured, who they showed, are people who in other situations want to speak up for women and all of these things. And you realize that none of it is real. Like, for a lot of these people, this advocacy for women or this allyship, it's all a lie. And you see that in some of the people who are used as these, as recaps of those that were her naysayers at the time. And I continue to send prayers to her, because while it does seem like she is managing better now, I couldn't imagine. I absolutely couldn't imagine. And it is scary. It is terrifying to watch how victims are treated in this world. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how famous you are. None of that matters. And so I think, like I said, I'm very fearful with what this country is becoming, the world itself, right? And women, but especially what this country is becoming and what it will become as we move into these next 4 years, because behavior like that, I feel like we'll only see an increase, God forbid, but one can only assume that we will see an increase in behaviors like that. And Meg, sis, we love you. We really do. We love you. We love you. Things I'm watching. I'm such a big TV girly, as you all know. I know that I've already went through the Bravo and the Housewives, but these are not. So I love a scripted series. If you have not watched Cross on Prime, you absolutely must. This is what I will say. Is the show fantastic? Absolutely. There are unexpected twists and turns. The acting is absolutely fantastic. Tons of familiar faces. However, there are going to be parts, and I know that it has to lend to, you're like, it's a show. It's a show. You have to watch. I absolutely understand. But there are going to be parts where you're screaming at your TV because you're like, in no world would this act like, you know, when you're watching a scary movie and you're like, get up. Or you're like, now, why would you go in that basement knowing that is kind of some of the things that you feel watching Cross on Prime, but it is fantastic. Aldous Hodge is so fine. To my understanding, that is a taken man. But he is fine nonetheless. Taken, but still fine. And so it was great. His acting was fantastic. Everybody was wonderful. I highly suggest. Shrinking is back on Apple TV. If you guys have not seen it, the title is kind of self-explanatory. It is about shrinks, therapists. It is such a wonderful show. I absolutely love it. Season 2 is what's back. So if you haven't watched it, you have time to catch up. It's easy. And then back to non-scripted. I'm in love with The Mama's Boy on TLC. is that unhinged chaos that I absolutely love. So I love Smothered, which is the mom version for women, which is mothers and women who have dysfunctional relationships. Basically very codependent. When I say dysfunctional, I mean fully codependent. I'm in Love with a Mama's Boy is the exact same situation, but for mothers and their sons. But this season, there's a Black family mother and son duo out of, I believe, the DMV, because there was a mention of driving to DC, that is outrageous, y'all. He is 25. She locks and unlocks his cards, tells him when and where he can spend. It is truly unhinged behavior, and I absolutely love it. I highly suggest. It's light television, unhinged television, but it's light television. You don't have to think too much. On to everybody's favorite segment. It is a little shorter, but I think that as I transition out, as my For You page and my timelines kind of transition out of solely being political commentary, because I needed some happiness, y'all. It was all I was seeing, and I was getting more and more depressed. My mom and I were actually just talking about this, like holiday cheer, like our holiday spirit is not as great as we should be, because it's kind of like once we go into January, we kind of know what we have to enter into. So that is why I've been intentional about really making my timeline fun again. Let me start by saying this. I love white mess. I love white mess. I love white mess. It's mess that my people have no parts in. It doesn't impact us. It doesn't concern us. And oftentimes the things that white mess is centered around is so crazy and oftentimes frivolous. I love white mess. And that is why I'm so happy that TikTok continues to put white mess on my feed. If you're wondering what I'm referring to, I'm referring to Pajama Gate. I know that it might be a little late. Some of y'all might have seen it. Some of y'all might have not, because maybe the white mess hasn't popped up on your For You page. But allow me to introduce you to Pajama Gate. Okay, so there are two influencers, one of which is a big influencer. Her name is Cecily Bauschman. I believe that's how you pronounce it. She has a sister-in-law, so they are married to brothers. Her name is Samantha Bauschman. I had never heard of these women before. All of a sudden, what pops up on my feed is that their fans are pissed because they created a pajama brand called For the Mems, and the sets are $98. There was outrage everywhere. And while I am a firm believer in pay for what you can afford, I believe that brands can price their things at whatever price point they want. I, as a consumer, get to decide, though, if I am going to patronize that business. But the girls were pissed, furious. Cecily's fans were like, how dare you? This is too expensive. So, of course, Cecily and Samantha make a video. They're like, we'll give you a discount, $75 for the pajamas. Okay. They do like you set up the camera, we talk, we apologize to the camera. Samantha is clearly Samantha's disposition is very different than Cecily's. I don't know how they truly act behind closed doors, but Samantha is she has a harsh energy. So she's clearly pissed when they're doing this. I don't even know if you could call it an apology, more like a clarification video. Samantha, furious. So everybody starts coming at Samantha's neck. Well, as it continues, some people decide again that they are going to buy it. One of which is a creator who has 1 million followers. Her name is Gabby Egan. She decides to order them. Why? She says that she plans on starting her own pajama brand. So she kind of wanted to see what the quality of the pajama was like, if she wanted to, I don't know if it was replicate, but you do market research. Gabby receives an email that her order has been canceled. Mind you, she had posted on TikTok that she had ordered them. She did not say anything negative. She simply said, I'm going to order them and I will let you all know what I think. They cancel her order. So she's confused. She goes to her Instagram DMs. She finds a DM from Samantha. Samantha is in her DMs talking to her crazy, like, but so passive aggressive, so Karen passive aggressive vibes. She's essentially like, I didn't even know who you were, honestly. We canceled it because we found out that you have a Reddit account and you were on Reddit telling people that you were going to bash us. Gabby said, number one, I don't even know how you find out if somebody has a Reddit account. Like, aren't most of them anonymous or just usernames? Secondly, Gabby says she doesn't have a Reddit account and she never spoke about For the Mems. So then the outrage continues. The girls are pissed again because they're like, oh, you're canceling orders because you're scared of people giving reviews. It continues. Avery Woods, again, someone I've never heard of. She's not popped up on my For You page, but she also is a big creator. She's on a podcast and she says that Cecily liked a comment in which people were saying, why isn't Avery catching the same heat that For the Mems is? Well, that is because Avery did a Mayfair collab recently. They were priced high and people are like, well, why isn't she getting the same heat? Well, the difference is Avery has no say over what the price point is because she is just coming into an already existing brand that has an existing fan base, that has an existing history of trust with its customers. The issue is that Cecily and Avery are friends. So Avery gets on the podcast and is basically like, we're done. We're not friends anymore. It just continues to snowball. And again, I love White Mess because all of this started just because of $98 pajamas. Love it. Moving on. My favorite recent follow, because I think you guys should follow him because he's so funny, so light. So if you guys have been hearing people say, you know what? Hell yeah. It's because of this creator named Frankie Blue, FrankieBleau. He is so funny. To my understanding, he's also from Houston. I'm from Houston. Hey, Frankie. And he is so funny. He is such a breath of fresh air. He pops up on my timeline every now and then. And I finally was like, you know what? I have to follow him after the Hell Yeah video. It's just always funny, always joy on his page, always a good time. He also is obsessed with the song, with Real Boston Richie's song, Help Me, which is already, yes, a very popular song. I like it. But his obsession with it, you all have to go to the page to understand it. Every single Sunday at Sunday Fun Day, he posts about himself singing that song, and it has made me like the song even more. So Frankie, please keep posting. For the girls who need light content, I go to your page to see what you are talking about because you are so funny. And it's so necessary right now. Like content like Frankie's is so necessary right now. So also, the Dollar Tree General lady, I think this is really important to give her a shout out because I saw a video giving her a shout out. There's a woman who does Dollar Tree hauls, grocery hauls and hauls of other things and makes meals out of things at Dollar Tree. And a man posted a video trying to reach out to basically just hoping that the Dollar Tree lady sees it. Essentially, he was at a Dollar Tree and he saw a woman who clearly had hit challenging times with 3 children. And he, as someone who watches the Dollar Tree General recipes, saw this woman and struck up a conversation basically saying, I watch her too. And the woman basically just said that, times were really hard and she wanted to give her children a proper Thanksgiving dinner. And because of the Dollar Tree General woman on TikTok, she's able to do that because of her recipes. And I think that when we think about what influence is and when we think about what an influencer should be, that is the perfect example. Times are hard. I tell people all the time when we talk about money, I'm like, have you seen how much milk and eggs are? Times are really, really hard. But with times being hard, it doesn't mean that people don't deserve joy and they don't deserve happiness for themselves and for their families during times like this. And so I am so happy that people like the Dollar General woman on TikTok exist because all of us deserve happiness and prosperity around these times. And so shout out to her. I had only seen a few of her videos, but after that guy's video and how touching it was, I went ahead and followed her. And she really is so great at it. She made a full Thanksgiving casserole. I believe that that's the recipe that the woman was going to make. It's like 3 different recipes, I think, for a full meal, but there's a full like Thanksgiving casserole that has like stuffing mix and turkey and gravy and green beans all in it. And she made it all for $12, she said. So, if you or anyone that you know, or, you just want to share what she's doing, I went and reposted some of her videos because you never know who could benefit from seeing it. And she's a gift to the timeline. And it sounds like undoubtedly she's a gift to others who have taken her recipes and are giving their families proper holiday meals this year. So, lastly, what we do have to talk about is all of the discourse on TikTok around the video of where a creator was saying that her favorite thing about her is being skinny. I feel like I have many thoughts, and then one thing that I've talked about before, I've said it twice on this podcast before, is that recently and then before, like my weight has always yo-yoed my entire life. My entire life, I've had really bad body image issues. I've had bad body dysmorphia. I have had I won't even say love-hate, really like a hate-hate relationship with my body. And as someone who has recently I've lost a substantial amount of weight, about 20 pounds. For my frame, that's substantial. I can confidently say that even when I lost the weight, even now, I still hate my body. And I say that to say, in the context of the video, is that skinniness is not the solution. And I know that is not what the creator said. She said that it is her favorite part. But I think that sometimes social media, let me try to say the quiet thing out loud, but I saw a video that was a great take where it's like, so that wasn't quiet though. The idea that smaller bodies are preferred is not the quiet thing. It is smaller bodies being preferred are the reason that I've hated my body my entire life, all 30 years of it. It's not the quiet thing. And so it was, somebody drew the correlation. It's if, somebody white said my favorite part of myself is being white. Well, yeah, look at the privileges that it brings. Those aren't quiet parts. They don't necessarily need to be said. And I think that even sometimes when, someone was saying that it's very dangerous when you think about what you look like that frequently, when that is the favorite thing, your favorite thing about yourself. And I will say this, knowing that creator, I do think that she said it with sarcasm. I don't think that if sitting down with her, that's more than likely not her favorite thing about herself. I think that there's a level of desire in creators to want to put out content that gets reactions, that gets views. And I think that this is what the situation was. I do not think that is actually her favorite part about herself, but I think that you don't know who that narrative will negatively impact. And so I thank God that for me, no, I haven't worked through all these body image issues, but seeing videos like that don't trigger feelings of inadequacy in me because I'm not skinny. But some things just don't need to be put on don't need to be platformed, right? I think the same could be said about, colorism and texturism. It's like in topics like that, you don't need to get on and say, so my favorite thing about myself is being fair skinned, or my favorite thing about myself is having what people consider a manageable texture. Those are not those aren't innovative takes. Those aren't groundbreaking takes because that is what society has instilled in us. And a lot of it is rooted in anti-Blackness. A girl did a video about how a lot of the things that we feel around our body is rooted in fascism. They're always deeper deeper ramifications and deeper implications rather. And so that is why I say when people are like, well, why can women with plus size bodies get on the internet and say how much they love their bodies? Because their bodies, like they are attacked for their bodies. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it is, they deserve to empower themselves because the world does not empower them. And so I think, like I said, is someone who will 9 times out of 10, you know, I talk about it all the time. Well, 9 times out of 10 struggle with body image issues for the rest of my life. I'm 30 now. And it's not that I've just resolved that they're not going to get fixed, but what I have resolved is that there are some things that are so deep rooted in me from growing up, from the environments, from seeing things on TV, from my desired career field. It will always be in me. But the least that I could do is not get on the internet and further push my toxic views of my own body onto others. And so I hope that clarifies. Like I said, I don't think that, y'all, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that is her favorite thing about herself. I don't. I think that if you sat with her and had conversation, that is, and truly asked her that wouldn't be that. But I think that there is a desire for clickbaity content. And that's what it is. It's caused a lot of conversation. So that's what I have to say about that. Combos with friends. So y'all, is anybody else sleepy all the time? So I turned 30 in, what's today's date? So I turned 30 in 2 weeks, like 18 days. And I don't know if it's an age thing. So the hangovers have gotten unbearable. My hangovers are a solid 48 hours. I do not know how this happened to me. And be clear, that's after like 4 drinks. We're on a 48-hour recovery time frame. But we are sleepy all the time. Now, I know that, of course, the issue is that it gets dark at 4 p.m. now, which also stresses us out. But my friends and I are like, we are always tired. I just put on Threads. I reward myself for productivity with a nap. Like any day I can get a nap. Now, granted, y'all know that my life is like, I'll have a break and then I'm nonstop for like 2 months. Like that's what this summer was. It was like, I was like, damn, what's going on? And then it was just full speed ahead. I feel like I'm in a small lull right now. I was in a small lull maybe a month ago, and now it's just off to the races again. I'm going to Basel. If you guys will be at Basel, this episode will be out that Monday. I get to Basel on Wednesday. We'll be there the rest of the week. So would love to see any of you. But we are always tired, y'all. Like I am canceling plans more than I used to. Granted, I don't live in the city anymore. So most of the plans are in the city. So it's always like, do I feel like getting in the car, doing this drive, or calling this expensive Uber that's going to cost me $150 because I'm coming over a bridge. Like, so it's a lot of decisions. But guys, my friends and I are always tired. We did not used to be like this. I know I should not reference 22-year-old Blake, but I came offline. I crossed as a senior. And when I came offline, I crossed as a spring senior. So we came out in January of my senior year, which means that I only had 4 months to really party. You guys, I was drunk from Wednesday to Sunday. Would just need to wake up, have me a little breakfast sandwich. And by noon, I was like, all right, we're ready to go again, and could do that every single day. If I tried that today, and we'll be out till 3, 4 a.m. If I tried that today, I don't even want to know. I no BS, like no exaggeration. I would end up in the hospital. And I know that this is not supposed to be the same body. And I know that we thank our bodies for slowing us down. Like I am very grateful to my body, because I think as somebody who, if you all follow me on TikTok and have followed me for a while, you all know that I truly for a really long time was go, 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 go. People still think I'm go, 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 go. Not in comparison to what it used to be. And I think it was a lot of that was in part to my body told me, like my body was the one that said, we can't do this anymore. So on one hand, I thank my body for slowing me down, because I think my body knows that if I could do it, I would still be doing it. And it would probably have greater implications down the line when I'm older, say in my 40s and 50s. So while I'm thankful, y'all, I'm tired all the time. I'm going to let you know right now, when I leave this taping, I'm going to drive home and take a nap, because I must reward myself for doing something productive. We are always sleepy. And so if you guys have any solutions, I have to watch how many vitamins I take because I have severe acid reflux. So it makes it worse. That's another thing. The stomachs. Like being hot with gastrointestinal issues is truly such a burden. Like things have changed. I used to have a stomach of steel. Not no more. I eat anything. Anything. It's this getting older thing. And like I said, I'm grateful. I used to be, yes, I can admittedly say that I used to be the girl that used to be like, oh, they old. In the past few years, that narrative has shifted so greatly for me because I understand what a blessing it is to grow older. So it's like, I'm so excited for 30, but then I was talking to a friend of mine who's 40 and they were like, no, 40 is really where it's at. And then I had a conversation 2 years ago at the Target Essence Fest brunch with Tisha Campbell Martin. And she told me, she said, no, it's 50. And so I am now looking forward to the growing older, but the way this body, y'all, I wake up sometimes and grunt. I'm like, ugh, I'm getting aches. And the Pilates don't seem to help. So if you guys have any solutions, or maybe this is just what we sign up for and we adjust, and I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with adjusting to what my body needs in that moment. And that I feel like, especially moving out of the way, has really helped me with, is that I'm learning what my body needs and understanding that like it's not linear and that some days my body, my mind, my spirit will need things on one day that it doesn't need on the other. And that's okay. You adjust and you figure out, you build this toolkit of what you need. But fuck, I'm sleepy. Anyway, my last convo with friends, and then we'll wrap this up, is I went on a date, guys. I talked about it on TikTok if you've seen it. I had said I had a partnership with Bumble a while back, and a woman had made a comment and she was like, but does Bumble have black men? I made a response video to her in which I let her know that I was casting the net wider and I am no longer going to exclusively date black men. And so I went on my first date with a non-black man. He was East Asian. It was a really good time, not a love match. Everybody's asking why. There were a myriad of reasons. And I'm starting to, there were a myriad of reasons. But I had fun nonetheless. Like I had fun nonetheless. And it's really important to cast the net wide because I think that we, as black women, should not close ourselves off romantically anymore. And so I haven't. And so I've been having conversations with my friends about that. And I'm telling all of my friends, girl, date them all. Go on dates with all of them, so long as you feel safe and you feel like you can be yourself. Because that was one of the things that I grappled with in my head before the date was, I don't shrink for any, like I'm myself. You know how the girls, some people are like, they show up as their representative the first date. I am myself straight out the gate because it's very important with such a strong personality as mine. I'm not going to give you no surprises. I need to know up front that you are willing and ready for the rah-rah that Blake supplies. I'm a Sag woman, which, speaking of, I know we have terrible PR. Sag women have really, the PR for Sag women is really rough, but I'm here to let you know. I'm one of the more mellow ones. But nonetheless, I still am a large personality. If you've listened to this entire thing, I'm a large personality. And so I felt like being a large personality, but also being a black woman, in so many spaces we are misunderstood. And so I think, that I went into the date very nervous, like, will I have to almost shrink or show up as a more, mellowed out version of Blake to make this date comfortable. And I didn't do that. I didn't have to do that. And so I think that, like I said, so long as you feel safe and are willing and open and feel like this person you can at least be yourself with, because there's no use in going on a date, even if it's just a date, if you have to sit there and be your representative all day. Girl, you could have just skipped the date. Well, not even a representative, like that's even not even a representative. Like you have to really dummy and water yourself down to seem desirable to non-black men. If it seems like you can go and not have to do those things, then do it. And I had a really good time. Will I be going on a date with him again? No. But am I totally now open to dating men of all races and ethnicities? I am. I'm down. Do not forget, guys, we are now accepting listener questions. So check that out on the Instagram if you haven't, to see how you can submit listener questions, comments, whatever you can share story times, whatever you're thinking. But thank you guys for chatting with me. I feel like I chatted a little longer than usual this time. So thank you. It's because I got very serious about the outline. As I'm listening back to solo episodes, I'm like, Blake, you missed points here. You missed points here. You didn't have names here. And y'all know, with a journalism background, that was not tickling my fancy. So the outlines are much more in depth and much more detailed. So I think that's why we chatted longer. But I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to According to Blake. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys go back and watch any previous episodes that you might have missed. Follow us on Instagram at According to Blake Pod, and follow me on Instagram, Blake Lauren with a W. I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday season. Love you guys. Bye.